So I'm going to do something a little bit different this week. I'm going to actually use ChatGPT, and hopefully for future weeks as well if it works out, using ChatGPT to ask me questions about the topic of today's conversation or monologue. I want it to be more real, more reactive, so that the questions are asked and then I can give a truer answer in terms of what is real to me, rather than reading, not that I read from a script, but it being too scripted and too bullet pointed to get across what I think I should be. So that's the plan. Today's episode is about the ACC part of our brains and tough moments and energy levels and how that impacts on that part of the brain. And so, yes, to start with, a bit of a definition before we get into it. So there's a part of the brain called the anterior cingulate cortex, the ACC. It's involved in handling discomfort, regulating emotions, managing conflict, and pushing through difficult things. Some neuroscientists suggest that when we repeatedly choose hard things, especially when we don't feel like it, we strengthen that circuit. So that's the topic, and that is what the ACC is. So the first question that ChatGPT came up with is, have the hardest moments of my life strengthened me neurologically, not just emotionally? And I'd have to say yes. And thinking, and this is why this topic resonated with me, because I've not been through hardship like some people have, but I've had some tough moments in my life, and we can only experience what we've experienced, and my tough moment might be different to somebody that's experienced real trauma, really tough upbringing, or whatever that could be. But equally, my experiences might be tougher perceived than other people's. And so my best friend Luke passed away when I was 30. I've been through a tough divorce. Without going into detail in terms of what happened, it wasn't my actions that sparked it. You can imagine what that was, and those, I guess, stick out as the two sort of tougher moments in my life. And has that built resilience, or have I just become more used to that type of stress? I would argue that it has strengthened me neurologically, my resilience, and I think that it forced growth in me without perhaps realizing, especially with when Luke passed away. It probably was my form of dealing with it. I perhaps didn't grieve properly, probably didn't fully grieve until my divorce started to happen, and the issues that I had there brought forward and brought to the front emotions that were perhaps hidden from the event of Luke passing away 10 years prior. The actions that it brought for me when Luke passed away, and then I injured my knee a year later, and so couldn't play football anymore, was that I suddenly had a big void to fill with Luke, someone that I would speak to pretty much every day, someone that I saw as a brother, someone that I bounced off of, someone that I looked up to. I lost that, and then I lost something else that I could plough energy and time into, which was my football semi-professional career, training twice a week, or sometimes a game on a Tuesday with a game on a Saturday, something that took up a significant part of my life. And so within a year, I lost those two things, and my response, unknowingly, and the actions that I took were to double down on what wasn't really a business at the time. I didn't certainly see it as such. It was me going self-employed before Luke passed away, and then starting to kind of dabble in recruiting people for the business to deliver PE lessons so that I didn't have to do it all. And then those two events happened, and I went all in. Not that that was a conscious decision. It was just, how can I deal with the pain of specifically losing Luke, and how how can I fill that time? And so the chaos that kind of came with that, Luke being a really well-known person in Bridgewater, and having a bit more time on my hands, I suppose, that's what I went into. And perhaps part of it was, well, Luke was this incredible person. I've got an opportunity now to honour his legacy, his life, by maximising what I can get out of mine. And the business started to take shape. So that was probably the first thing. And then in regards to the divorce, I think it had always been on my radar that I wanted to start another business, something that was just mine, and have full ownership over something, full autonomy, and just something that I could shape and create in my vision. Not that Inspired isn't, but I just wanted that something extra. And I knew that it was there for me to go after, but perhaps I didn't quite have the balls to do it, the bollocks to go after it. I was always dabbling in sort of sideline hustles, my social media posting daily, which you'll probably be aware of, things that didn't carry as much jeopardy as Renew Education. And so the divorce, I guess, again, that chaotic, very emotional time, very tough, especially with the girls involved, with how that was going to look, and financially, lots of uncertainty. I know that my mum and dad were questioning my timing for starting another business when things weren't fully resolved with the divorce. It hadn't actually gone through yet. But again, it's kind of how I fill my time, and how I deal with things, by being busy. Yes, getting used to that stress, but building resilience and trying to grow. And I've always had this kind of prove people wrong attitude, so that's probably part of it as well. And invested into Renew significant amounts of money to get that up and running and started. And I think without the divorce, I probably wouldn't have pushed myself to do it, because there was that level of comfort with being married, and having the girls all the time, and that relationship, which is no more. And so again, I had some more time, and I don't have the girls. I'd love to have them full time, 100% of the time, but that's not the right thing to do, nor was it agreed. So it was an opportunity to actually put my money where my mouth was and start something. And so that, I think, is how I've responded to those tough moments, and built unknowingly that ACC part of my brain. And then there's the aside, even not linked to those things, where you look at some of the insane things that people are doing now. Spencer Matthews doing whatever he's done endurance-wise, like epic and brutally tough events. And I've never done anything like that, but I constantly get the nagging feeling of doing something. So London Marathon, charity events, half marathon last year. There's always things that I'm looking to do, awards dinner, charity functions, etc. And I guess begs the question, why do I sign up for these things? Is it growth or is it control? And I think it's to do with when I have calm moments before Renew. Yes, the chaos of the divorce, but that had begun to settle, I suppose. Calm moments in the businesses might be level and going well, growing, or stable, less stress. That calmness feels unfamiliar, and I think that is a big part of when I chase something, that I'll sign up for something, or I'll start another business, or look to add another business. It's in those moments where the calmness doesn't sit well with me. And there's a quote I'll mention here by James Clear, who has that incredible book Atomic Habits, and his newsletter's great and his social media is fantastic. His quote is, "You do not rise to the level of your goals, you fall to the level of your systems." And I really like that, and especially it resonates with the business at the moment with Renew, in that the systems that are in place, and I guess personally as well, you kind of fall back to. So my systems are pretty bulletproof in terms of exercise, my weekly routine, and doesn't vary too much. And then with the businesses, it's getting those processes in place so that if things do suffer or there's hard times, those systems, you fall to those levels and you can have those foundations and build again. And then final part, I suppose, is my energy levels last week just felt really low, and I was sort of thinking, oh, why is this? And have I gone away from my routines? And it actually just made me reflect and think, well, and this isn't to do with the ACC necessarily, but I have that resilience, I suppose. I have that part of my brain that feels strong or big, whatever it is. And so why then has my energy level dipped if my resilience is so good? And it just made me pause, to be honest, and question my routine. It's pretty refined, it's pretty good in terms of the things that I mentioned, business and work, but actually, am I getting enough sleep? Am I getting good enough sleep? So it's just made me, one, order a book so that I'm not scrolling before bedtime, and just review everything. Am I overtraining? Have I done a bit too much? And it actually made me get some vitamin D tablets just because of the winter that we've had in the UK. So just something I thought I would mention. And then the flip of that is, so I train in the mornings, ideally. And historically, when the girls were younger, I'd always train and be back in the house before they were awake. Obviously, when I was married. With the girls being a bit older now and having them on my own, my trainings had to be amended. So sometimes I do like a 9:30 in the morning session, which I don't like, but I don't want to leave them at home on their own. But they've got to an age now where they're both comfortable being here without me here. So I've gone back to doing an early morning session and being back before they're awake. And I couldn't believe the difference in energy it gave me when I did it for the first time last week. I was back by 7:15. The girls get up at 7:45, and my youngest was in the kitchen. She'd made her own porridge. She was fully dressed for school, and I was in an amazing place mentally. I had the endorphins were going in my brain. I felt fantastic. So I'd done my workout first thing, got back to the house, and it was just the most beautiful morning of me having that anxiety lifted because I've already done my workout. I don't have to work out and work at the same time. It was done. Layla, with that bit of freedom to get herself ready and almost try and show me that, yeah, Daddy, I can do this without you here. And Izzy following not far behind. So Layla and I had a good, fun morning of helping her get ready, doing lunchboxes together. We put some Bruno Mars on, practicing that viral dance, just having a laugh. Then Izzy joins and gets involved as well, and we go to school or drop them to school, and they were in the best moods, and so was I. So is resilience pointless if I don't protect the energy that lets me enjoy moments like that? Yes, it is. And I've said before, I never want my work and exercise to get in the way of being the best dad that I can be. And I don't think there's a distinction between the two. I think they go hand in hand, that I'm a better dad when I have exercised and I've lifted that anxiety that I sometimes get if I do a workout later in the day. I've got that 100% presence with them